What is going on, y'all? My name is Chris. This is Ending the Stigma, where we have conversations with cool people who are doing cool things uh, in anything that has anything to do with being justice involved, addiction involved, trafficking involved, um, and anything in between. And I have been really, really blessed to have some really amazing guests. I've had a few people from my Memphis fam on the show, but not as many as I would like. And like I know them, we talk on social media, like we hug and kiss and not make up, hug and kiss and love you and hang out and all that stuff whenever we're in Memphis. Um, but most of them, I don't know their story. And tonight, one of my absolute favorites and one of Kara's absolute favorite people, Shelby Lee, is going to be with me on tonight. I've never heard her story. I don't know where this is going to go, how it's going to end up. So y'all are going to be along for the ride with me. Um, Let me take a quick minute and say hi to a few people that are here. Hey, Chastity, good to see you. Thanks for dropping in. Lisa Marie, how are you, ma'am? You've got a live stream coming up in about an hour. Kelly, who is her and Christy were responsible for me meeting Ben and Jess. So thank you so much for that. Uh, David Cause, our graphic designer and friend. What's going on, man? Casey Abels, my sister, man. I cannot wait. Like, I need to have I really want to have you and Cody on, like, as a joint deal to tell y'all's story as a couple and like just like everything you went through. Um, yeah, Cody, for real. Like, I really want to get that set up. Yeah, Josh. Yeah. Good to see you too, man. Love you. All right. So my guest tonight, Shelby Lee, like it was just an immediate, it's kind of one of those things like whenever I first got on Facebook right after my brother passed and right after had Ben and Jess on the show and before we went to Memphis the first time, there was this crazy influx of I connected with a crap ton of people from Memphis just through Ben and Jess. And the first time we went to Memphis in July, like Shelby was just like we just connected. Like she connected with all of us. It was me and Kara and Josh, and we were on the Rebos porch. Y'all seen me post about it about just me having a really emotional moment on the Rebos porch, and Ben wrapping me up and was like, "Look, bro, like there was 30 or 40 people on the porch, and he was like, if you're going to have a breakdown, this is the place to do it because every one of these people has lost somebody to fentanyl, so they all get it." Shelby was there that night. That was the first time we met, and she just has his bigger than life, bubbly personality, loves everybody, and like we're just like we all love her, and we're like we cannot wait for April to get up there and meet her. We've talked about Shelby a whole lot to April, so we're super excited for that. Anyway, I'm going to quit rambling. Without any further ado, y'all help me welcome Shelby Lee. What
Hi.
what's up, sis?
Not much, not much. Freddie, I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see you
I
up there
am
doing your
too.
thing. Yeah,
I am too. I'm really excited to hear your story. Like I love listening to everybody's story.
for
You told me
sure.
backstage, some of your story gets really dark, and that's the case with addiction, right? Like it's
Right.
not because we were talking. She was like, "I can be myself, right?" And I was like, "Well, I generally try not to drop f bombs. I try to keep it PG-13." And she was like, some of my story may not be PG-13.
Right.
Anyway, that doesn't matter. So thank you for being here. Thank you so
Glad
much.
to
And
be here.
I cannot wait to see y'all this weekend. Like
Yes.
I'm so
I,
ecstatic.
I know. Kara, she's been having, we're learning songs to play on the guitar so we can sing. I'm hyped, bro. I'm hyped.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. So just tell us, like, start wherever you want to start, however far back you want to go back,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
just tell us like how you got caught up in addiction and just kind of what your life was like, and just take us through it.
Sure. Okay. So, just a little pretense. What I'm about to tell you is, and I have three children here. So, if they run in here, my fault. You know them, you love them, they're
Yeah, I
here.
know 'em, I love them. It's
Right. You
fine.
know them,
Like
you love them.
you
Okay.
don't know
So,
how many live streams I've had interrupted by kids and dogs, man.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
we're
they'll
good.
probably be in here. But I'm
Yeah,
about to tell you a story about, a love story about how I learned to love myself.
yeah.
Um, So let's see. I can start where what I mean. My parents split when I was 3. Um, they were both remarried by the time I was 6. My stepmom, I was real close with. She'll come in later. My stepdad, not so much. He did not like me and my brother, and he made it a point to, kind of let us know that, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. We'll skip those couple of years because those couple of years were kind of normal. Okay, so I played softball. I did really well in school. I sang in honor choir, all that good stuff. Right? I was on the chess
Yeah.
team. Don't tell anybody that, but I was right. All right. So yeah. So let's see. So things started to kind of get a little different for me at like 10 and 11. So what happened was we have a festival here in Memphis every year. It's called Memphis in May. And there's a barbecue fest, right? There's a music festival and then there's a big barbecue fest, naturally.
Yeah.
And so my stepdad, who was, an alcoholic my whole life, hardcore, works third shift, just a asshole, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he joined one of the barbecue teams. So him and my mom um started, you know what I mean? It went from like a super normal life to like all of a sudden nothing was normal. Like we were having, I'm 10 and 11. I have a little brother who's 5 and, 5 or 4. And all of a sudden, we started having parties at our house every weekend. And I'm talking like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it was back in the day. They sat around the table and played cards and threw darts and stuff, you know?
Right.
But they got sloppy drunk, right? And my mom would say things like, Shelby, keep Logan upstairs, who's my little brother. And we would sit there, I just kind of remember sitting there on the balcony looking down and watching, all these adults in my life like just act insane. But so that became a thing. I do have an older brother. His name is Taylor. Me and him are like this. I love Taylor. We have a long history.
That's what's up.
Yeah, and so he would all, you know what I mean, like he worked all the time. He wasn't really there a lot, but um
There's Ben
when he
right there.
Hey Ben,
I
yeah.
know
So when
it.
Taylor, yeah, for sure. So when Taylor was home, like, he's 4 years older than me. So I'm, 11 going on to 11, and he's, 15 anyway. So he would have all of his buddies would come over to our house, right? We had a
Yeah.
pool in the backyard, like I said, we would throw darts, and my mom would let them get sloppy drunk, right? And we're talking about 15, 16, 17-year-old boys. And she'd say, y'all can drink as much as you want as long as you leave your keys on the table. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that was a repetitive thing in our household for a while. So let's see, when I was 12, it was my brother's 16th birthday party.
Okay.
And I'm talking about the entire school was at our house. Like it was lit. They still
It
talk
was
about that
lit.
party, you know? They still
Right.
talk about it. And
Hey, let me shout out Keith Burgess real quick. Keith, it's good to see you, brother. Like, look, I have you on the guest list for next season starting in January. I want to get you on here and hear your story too. So shout out to Keith. Thanks for dropping in, man. All right. Anyway, sorry.
no,
Keep
for
going.
sure, for sure. So so it was his birthday. Well, what ended up happening that night was there was about, I don't know, maybe 10 guys that stayed the night. And everybody kind of passed out early, except for this one guy. And, I slept directly across the room from my brother upstairs. And, I was 12 years old. And before I even knew that I had a choice, I wasn't a virgin anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So, that's kind of when things started to change for me. Real quickly, you saw a change in how I dressed, how I talked, the things that I was interested in. I didn't play ball anymore. I didn't want to sing anymore. I didn't tell anybody what happened, right?
Right.
But I just internalized it. So I'll be the
Right.
first to sit here and tell you that sex and love was my first drug of choice.
Yeah.
Once I got that kind of attention,
Yeah.
it was off to the races for me for that,
So,
and
hang on, let me interrupt you again. We got Carissa Devon and Ashley Kennedy watching too. Like,
those are my people.
I
Hi,
know
those
they
are my
are. Like, I
favorites.
cannot wait. I really, really, I have not met them yet. Like, we've been friends on Facebook for months now and heard all about them. I really
Right.
hope they show up at Thanksgiving because I really want to meet both of them.
Yeah,
Anyway,
for sure.
keep
For sure.
going.
Okay, so let's see, right? So for the next 2 years, my mom, she didn't really know how to deal with the fact that I was losing my mind, bro, and she didn't know what was going on. I'm acting out, I'm cutting my wrist, I'm writing poems about wanting to die all the time. She had no idea that I had been raped, right? And so what she did was she kept me in treatment facilities for like months at a time. I was in
Yeah.
Lakeside, Parkwood, anyway. And so finally, when I turned, 14, it came out. I finally broke down. I was in a treatment facility and I said, look, this is what happened to me. And you know, that's when again, another big change happened. I did not leave that treatment facility in the custody of my mom. I left with my dad and my stepmom.
Yeah.
And so I moved to West Memphis, West Side. And I started a whole new life, right? You know, this is when my dad and me and him are so close. I love him to death. I wouldn't be here without him. But at that period of my life, he was not around a lot. He was building what is the empire he has now.
Right.
And so he was all the time, on flights and all kinds of stuff, right? So 14 years old, me and my stepmom are living together, and she's taking pain pills. Okay, this is right when the first wave, the first epidemic, right, of pain pills
Right.
happened. Um, so let's see. I start taking those with her. I start drinking all the time. Me and her. I mean, like when my dad wasn't there, we literally just partied. I'm talking about. I didn't go to school. I didn't. She was seeing this guy on the side, and I was seeing his friend, and it was just so toxic, right? I'm 14
Yeah.
years old and I was sleeping with a 23-year-old cop. Shout out, you know what I mean? Like crazy. And right, and my mom's right beside me through all of this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we're just feeding off of each other. Unfortunately, that that would continue for a while. So I have four brothers, right? One of them has never been addicted, thank God. And the other three still struggle, right? Because, and I'm not blaming my mom, but she definitely helped us,
Yeah. Yeah.
So she, she was taking pain pills. Taylor was taking pain pills. My brother Blake, we're all just and when we're taking like 10 at a time, and this is every single day. We're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and it's just ridiculous, right? So let's see. By the grace of God, I graduated high school. I don't really know how that happened, right?
Right.
So, so let's see. I was 17 when I graduated high school. I'm already severely addicted to pain pills. And then I have my big brother with me, right? Who's my right hand man. We do everything together. I just want to be like Taylor,
Right.
And so
Right.
let's see. So Taylor, breaks his ankle, right? And I'm in cosmetology school. Taylor breaks his ankle. All of a sudden, he can't go and pick up his drugs anymore, right? All right. So, he's got me, and I'm in cosmetology school. Like I said, I'm 17. And one day he takes me, he's like, Shelby, I need you to take me over here. You know what I mean? I'm hurting, da 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 da, whatever. So I do. I take him over there, and we pull into this apartment complex, and like, I've been buying pills off the street for a long time by this point, so I wasn't really scared, right? So
Right.
Taylor gets out on his crutches, you know what I mean, in his cast, and limps up these stairs into this abandoned apartment. Anyway, and when he comes back down, he sits down beside me and he pulls out this CD case, and he breaks this down in front of me, and I'm gonna get kind of graphic here, but I'm like, he's like, here, do this. And I said, what is, you know what I mean? What is it? And he's like, it's just crushed up pain pills, Shelby. It's just crushed up pain pills. Cool. Bet. Right. So I'll never forget the first time I did heroin. And everything, everything in the world finally made sense. All of this.
Were you snorting that or did you shoot it?
Yeah, so at the beginning, definitely. At the beginning, it
Snorting it?
definitely was snorting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my brothers aren't like me. I don't understand why it does people differently. I'm definitely one of the ones that I'll take it to the death, right? And
Man, I'm the
so
same way. Like I don't have an off switch.
I don't
It
either.
doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't
Me
matter
neither.
whether it's meth. Doesn't matter whether it's coke. I've never done heroin, but whether it's meth or
Right.
cocaine or X or even alcohol, like I do not have an off switch.
Right. I need to. I've been a blackout drunk since day one, right? So all right. So then I start doing heroin. I'm 17. I'm doing heroin. I'm in cosmetology school. I'm drinking at lunch every day. I'm
Yeah.
popping Adderalls on the side just to keep me awake from all that shit,
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so I start going over to that trap house by myself during the day. And while I was at school, because it was closer to me. And you know,
And for those of you that don't know what a trap house is, it's where drugs and women are sold out of.
yeah,
Basically, that's what it is. It's a dope house. That's
yeah,
all
for
it
sure.
is. Like most dope dealers, they don't live there. That's not where
Right.
they live. They don't live where they do their bad
Dirt,
shit out of. Yeah, they don't live there. They have another house, and they're trafficking drugs and women out of it
for
all
sure.
day, every day. So that's what a trap house is.
Yeah. So, and I'm, you know what I mean? At this point, like I said, I got my hair done. I'm in my school clothes and I'm feeling good about myself. And I walked into this apartment, right? And this was the first time, and I say this like, I don't say this lightly. This was the first time I was held at gunpoint and told to take my clothes off. And so when you think that that should have been a deterrent, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
was already addicted to heroin. How much worse was it going to get, right?
Right.
So that happened, and as soon as I left, I called my brother and I was crying, and and he was like, "Well, that's it. We're done. We're not going over there." Cool. You know what I mean? Well, what are we going to do now? So, I ended up finding another heroin dealer, right? Now, this particular heroin dealer, I have a son with him. And we were together for, almost 5 years.
Wow.
And but at the same time, like, you know what I mean? I'm so heavily addicted to heroin. I'm trafficking heroin. I'm driving to Chicago. I'm 16, 17, 18, 19, 19 years old. I catch my first charges for interstate trafficking, possession of a
How old are
controlled.
you now?
Right now, 34. 34
So this was 15, 16,
Ye-
17 years
years
ago.
ago. Yeah,
So
for
you've
sure.
been you've been you've
Thanks
been
for reminding me.
well, I'm 44, so
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
So you've been in it for a minute, is what I'm saying.
Yes, all my, from early 14 years old up, I've been in the thick of it.
Yeah,
And I was always just this pretty little white girl. And I hate to say that, but I always had a nice vehicle and I dressed nice and I acted nice. So these drug dealers loved having me right
yeah,
beside them because I could drive their cars and not look suspicious. I could traffic well and I held myself together for the most part. Right.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and
You didn't
so,
look like an addict or a junkie off the streets.
right. Until I was nodding out in your face,
Right, right,
then it was
right.
undeniable.
Until you were. Yeah, you did. You
Right.
weren't
Until I
until you
wasn't.
were.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so I, and then, like I said, at 19, I caught my first charges. I got out of that because of honestly who my dad is. And then at 21, I had our son, my first son. His name is Christopher, and
Great
he,
name, by the way.
yeah, no doubt, that's my daddy's name too. So,
Okay.
but he was, I had him at 7 months, because we were both in toxic shock. I hid being pregnant from everyone. I'm talking about, I had graduated cosmetology school. I was working in a salon. I'm cutting hair every day. And I'm 7 months pregnant, and I was so sick from being IV. At this point, I'm shooting up heroin, right?
Right.
I'm spending
Right.
33 minutes in the bathroom trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
and so I hid it from everybody until I went into labor, and I showed up at the hospital, and they were like, "Bro, my blood pressure was 280 over 200 something, roundabout." And they were like, "You're about to die." And so I ended up giving birth to him, and he stayed in the NIC unit for 30 days, um, while they tapered him off of heroin with morphine.
Mm,
And thank God he doesn't have any, you know what I mean, any
that's
adverse
awesome.
effects, man,
Yeah.
by the grace of God.
Right. For
And
real.
because I was addicted to heroin long before he was born, and I was addicted to heroin long after he was born, right? While I was in the ICU, because I had to be in ICU too, I was so sick. Of course, I had his daddy bringing heroin up in the hospital, right? All right. So, and this whole time while I'm doing this, I'm living with my dad and my stepmom, right? Me and my stepmom are still using together. That never stopped until like last year. But the reason I say that is because she funded all of my drug use for a long time.
Hmm.
And so what happens is, I go home. DHS lets Christopher go home with me as long as I'm in the care of those two. And right. And
Right.
so it didn't stop. Obviously, it did
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
stop. She was I always had a prescription with my name on it every time DHS came and drug tested me and I failed. She'd be like, "Yeah, she just left the dentist." And the woman finally was like, "She goes to the dentist every month." Like, this is every why is she going to the dentist so much? And anyway, so Christopher, so I ended up going to a treatment center for a couple of months, like probably 5 or 6 months, and I didn't stay long. I left, and Christopher's with my dad. And as soon as I got back, I started doing heroin again. Um, and so I came to my dad's, and I guess I was there for maybe 2 or 3 months, right? And during that 2 or 3 months, and I'm telling you, my dad has been dealing with me shooting up heroin in his house, finding needles and spoons and blood everywhere for the last 2 years. Okay. And so
Yeah.
at this point, he says, "Shelby, you have to go. I can't do this anymore." Right. And he kicks me out. He fills up my gas tank, gives me $100. And in my mind, I'm like, yes. You know what I mean? I got a
You
hundred
finna
bucks.
go. You
Exactly. I'm
finna
gonna
go
go
get high.
6 packs. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what happened is I ended up 4.5 hours away in South Arkansas in Monticello, and in the fucking woods, in the woods. I met my
I've got a wood story being strung out on meth. I could
yeah,
just
no, for sure, for sure. But so that's another thing. So they didn't have a whole lot of heroin in the woods, but they had a whole lot of crystal meth.
yeah. Yeah.
And so this my life takes a complete turn. Like I'm literally on my own, and I have to figure it out. I found somebody to stay with down there. Started That was my first experience with crystal meth, and I started doing it. And then 6 weeks after being down there, I met this boy. I met
There's
this.
always a boy.
There's always this
Let me ask you
blue-eyed,
this.
blonde-haired boy.
Let me ask you this. Because I've never done heroin. I got a hold of some H based X one time, and it like when I came down off of it, I got so sick.
Yeah.
Um, what was it like going from using a downer to using an upper like that? Like which one did
Okay,
you like
so
better? Like
right.
I'm like just to get kind of down and dirty and raw with it. Like
Which one
just
do I like better? So here's the
yeah,
thing. I'm no respecters of persons. I like to mix them up. You know what I mean? And that's just what I've
speedball.
always done. Yeah.
Yeah,
So the thing is that once you've done heroin for so long, it's not a downer anymore. Like I was doing it to stay functional, to stay
really.
present. Yeah, I was waking up with it every day. I'm active. I'm moving around. My dad will probably tell you that's not a true story, but because I would nod off right in the middle of conversations with him. But anyway,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I'm good.
Right, yeah, exactly. And that's happened so many times. Like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah,
And so let's see. So I meet this blue-eyed blonde haired boy, and I have nowhere to live. I'm living out of my car. I am at this point, I've already started to prostitute myself, just to have somewhere to stay.
yeah,
Things like that, right? So I meet him, and instantly I was just in love with Bradley. And so he's like, come with me, come with me. And so he ends up taking me down to his grandmother's trailer, that is even further in the woods. Like our closest neighbor was 5.5 miles away. And that
yeah.
particular neighbor just happened to be the bootlegger, the dope man, and the weed man. You know what I mean? Like all
Right,
wrapped up
right.
into one.
Yeah,
And so we get down there, and me and Bradley's relationship was born out of necessity. And so this is where it's going to start to get a little dark. So, we're out there in the middle of the woods. My family's not talking to me. I'm not talking to my family. I don't know anybody. I'm a stranger. Everything that I had was taken from me, was stolen out of my vehicle. I literally am wearing his white t-shirts and his basketball shorts and his shoes. I have nothing to my name, right?
yeah,
And so, you know, I had to stay there no matter. Bradley was dealing with his own demons, right? And so he would get so messed up that he would just, he would lose his mind. And I'll just get into it. So when I found out I was pregnant, the way that I found out I was pregnant is that I had to be taken to the hospital. My dad was called in, and he came to the hospital, and I had black eyes and busted up ribs, and they were like, "You're 6 weeks pregnant." And and my dad's like, he's like, "You got two choices." You know what I mean? He said, "You can have an abortion and come home, or you can stay here." And mind you, they're taking care of my son that's 2 now already. So but I chose to stay, not because, maybe because I wanted to keep the baby, but if we're being real, it's because I knew that I could do whatever drugs I wanted to and not be held accountable, right?
yeah, yeah,
uh and that choice, it was my choice. So while I was pregnant with Corey, there was times that Bradley would come in and he would pull me straight out of the bed. And one particular night, his grandmother lived there too, and my mama Lula. And one particular night, he pulled me out of the bed, and he had taken the radio out of a car, right? And he beat me in the head with it so many times that I went deaf for 2 weeks, right? And like to get him off of me, my mom had to call the law. But the thing is that when you're down there in them swamps like that and you call the law, you got a lot of places to hide, right? There's a lot of places to
yeah,
run. They called him Rabbit because they never could catch him, right?
yeah,
So then to move forward, I had just given birth to our son, and I came down here to see my dad, and Bradley stayed up there. And when I got back, Bradley was like, "Listen, I got to tell you something. I cheated on you." And we're talking about like this is the week after, whatever, the week after I gave birth to our son. He's like, "I slept with somebody while you were down there," and I'm like, "All right." I don't really have anywhere to go. So, it's cool, right? Well, he gets
Yeah.
so messed up that night. And I guess he just couldn't deal with his guilt. So what happened was I was breastfeeding our son, right? He takes a bag full of Klonopins, and I'm talking about like probably 60 of the low dose, but like I'm breastfeeding our son in the rocking chair, and for whatever reason, he just comes up behind me and pushes my head down, and he takes a knife and shoves it through my back, all the way through my shoulder. And so the thing is that I drop Corey. His dad's there. He comes in and picks Corey up. Bradley's got my phone. The thing about it is when you're that far out in the woods, nobody can hear you scream. And I screamed. I screamed a lot, and you know, I ended up coming home for a little while, back to my dad's house while he came down or whatever. Same thing though. I couldn't do any drugs in my dad's house, right? So I
Right.
came back. I went back,
Yeah.
and then I got pregnant. And then I found out I was pregnant with Eden, which is our daughter, right? Our first daughter. And so, that kind of stuff happened to me every single day for 6 years. Every day for 6 years. I didn't know if I was gonna live or if I was gonna die. By the end of it, I just wanted to die, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember being 8 months pregnant, and throughout all of this, I would work. You know what I mean? Like I would work while I was pregnant with the kids, and like up until I had them, and then so I remember being pregnant with Eden, and Corey's 8 months old, and Bradley comes in one night and he's found a gun. And then he pulls me out of the bed, and he's got me on my knees. And this happened every day for probably 3 weeks. He would pull me out of the bed and put that gun to my head and make me beg for my life in front of our son. And that was just it was just like, whatever, what am I gonna do? My family doesn't know any of this is going on. Um and so let's see. So then I have Eden, and then a couple weeks later, I found out I was pregnant with Marilyn, which was our third child, my last daughter. And same things happen throughout. And I say this, it is a fucking miracle that those kids are here. It is
Yeah.
a miracle that those children made it.
Yeah.
And so let's see, now fast forward, I have all three of them, and Bradley's not any different. Don't get me wrong, this whole time, if I wasn't pregnant, I did learn from my first son. I didn't do drugs while I was pregnant with the last three.
Really.
I didn't. I didn't. I didn't. I did learn from that. So, well, hang on. That's not true. Like, I didn't do a lot of drugs. Like, I still smoked weed. I still smoked weed throughout everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I have all three of them, and then I'll just say, so one night, it was right before Christmas, and it's cold outside, right? And Bradley would stay gone. He would stay gone at that bootlegger that I talked about for days and days and days at a time. And he would come home just out of his mind, right? And I don't even think he knows who he was fighting. Just, somebody
Yeah.
to take his anger out on. And so this one particular night, it was Christmas Eve, and he comes in and he's pissed off, and he's got the gun, and he tells me to load the kids up, right? And I'm like, Bradley, please, please don't make me do this. Like, you are so messed up. And he has me on my hands and knees in front of the Christmas tree with a gun to my head. All three of our children are sitting there staring, and they're screaming, right? And he's like, put the kids in the car, Shelby. And so and his mama's there, and she was so feeble, she couldn't help us.
Right.
And she's like, Bradley, please don't do this. Please don't do this. Anyway, I'm loading the kids up. And I'm crying, and I'm telling them that it's going to be okay. And I'm like buckling their seatbelts, because I don't know if we're going to make it out of this alive or not. And
Yeah.
And I'm like, baby's just, it's okay. Whatever happens, it's okay, right? And so he just is like crazy driving. They're screaming. I'm screaming. He ends up wrecking the car, right? Thank God it wasn't as bad, as it could have been. And but what he wanted to do was he wanted to kill all of us. You know what I mean? I just didn't want to be here anymore, right? So all right, um so examples of that happened every day for 6 years. Eventually, it did get bad enough to where uh the state stepped in. You know what I mean? I couldn't make up for him anymore. I couldn't lie our way out of it anymore. And he did end up going to prison, and he's still in prison, and that's been almost 8 years. Or almost 7 years. And so, after that though, all right, and then I'll hurry up. So after that,
No, you're good. We got time. You're good.
yeah, for sure. So after that, Bradley's gone, right? And I don't mean to sound any type of way, but like once Bradley was gone, the support that I had from Bradley's family was gone too. And all of a sudden I had three babies on my own by myself in the middle of nowhere, and I've got to provide diapers, and I've got to make sure they have formula and clothes, and thus started my theft career. Um, you know what I mean? I would break into houses to steal food. I can remember nights that my kids would sit there and they would be crying because they were so hungry. And there was nothing I could do, until I did something. Some nights, um, some nights I would literally have them in hotel rooms asleep in the bed beside me while I made the money that we needed, right? And I would steal, I would go into these stores and I would steal anything and everything, like every Christmas gift they got, every Valentine. I never missed a fucking holiday, but everything they got was stolen, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in the meantime, I'm trying to keep up with my habit, right?
Right.
At this point, I'm so heavily addicted to Xanax and crystal meth. You know what I mean? Crystal meth to keep me going, the Xanax to make me not care about the shit I had to do to get there. And so they there was nothing that they didn't go through with me.
Yeah.
They suffered and we suffered. And but at the end of the day, like we got through it,
Yeah.
like we fucking got through it. And then what ended up happening was I took some counterfeit money that we had been circulating, me and the little group that I had. And at this point the police are already, I'm Monticello's most wanted by far,
Right.
like I'm not allowed in any store ever
Right.
anywhere in North Louisiana, South Arkansas. Like they don't want me anywhere in South
Yeah.
Mississippi, nowhere, no casino, nothing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's kind of the end of the line, the jig's up. And they're kicking in doors looking for me. And I made a dumb decision, and I spent $40 in counterfeit money at a gas station, right? I bought 3 packs of cigarettes and like a Yoo-Hoo and a Slim Jim, because what else
Come on.
like,
Come on.
yeah. And
That's some road trip kind of shit right there.
like that's some I have to eat this so I don't die type shit. Like, can you chew it up and spit it in my mouth for me? Because I can't even eat this right now, just trying to stay alive. And so they end up catching up with me because I went into a Walmart and in a different town, and I was on camera when I walked out. I had this, this 8 ball in my. This is just crazy, but I had this 8 ball in my pocket. All right, I walk outside. Police are everywhere. So everywhere. My son's in the car watching this shit happen. Like, um, And what happened is like I end up the Walmart's in a strip mall, and at the end of the strip mall there's a Mexican restaurant. So I slide over there right to the Mexican restaurant. I have $5 in my pocket, and I go in there and I'm watching all this go down. They're going car to car looking for me. And my son is in the car, right? He's in the car with some friends of mine, and he's terrified, right? So I go up to the bartender. I said, "Look, this is all I got. I need the biggest shot that you have, you know." And he pours me up a shot of tequila. I took the shot and I went, and I was arrested that night. And so what
Yeah.
ends up happening is I go to prison. So in 2020, I went to prison, and I was there for almost 13 months. And during that time, my dad did come and get my kids. Finally, you know, I will say this because I think that it's relevant. While I was out there doing the things that I was doing, my kids did fall victim to being sexually molested by their grandfather, who was entrusted to watch them on the nights that I had to work, right? And so that came out, right? So let's see. So I go to prison. Well, I get out of prison and I parole out to my dad's house. And so after 10 years, Shelby's back in Memphis, baby, right? So I stayed sober for about 10 months. What and it's crazy, like October 17th, right? We're having this get together at my dad's house. My mom's still the same person that she's always been, right? Go
Hold
ahead.
that thought. Let me interrupt you. So April commented, "Hell yeah," a minute ago, and then she just commented this. She is a Slim Jim eating fool. Like this is our April, April Garner.
Yeah,
That's our April. Like
yeah,
she is a Slim Jim eating, Red Bull drinking
that's
son of a
right,
gun.
baby.
Like that is what she survives on.
Yep, I get it, April. Shout out to the Slim Jims, baby. You know, for sure. So let's see. So it's October 17th. I've been sober for um 20 months. All right. Figuratively sober. I've had been drinking since I got out of prison. I've been smoking weed. Anyway, we're having this get together at my dad's house, and my mom's like, I'm on the way to the liquor store to pick up the bottles, and my mom calls me and she's like, "Hey, if I send you some money, can you find us some pain pills?" Now, mind you, I have been out of Memphis, out of this group of people for 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, absolutely, don't challenge me, you know?
Yeah.
And
Say
so,
less.
right, so give me 10 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
And so I did, right? She cashed out
Isn't
me.
it crazy? Like it doesn't
Yes.
matter how long you've been gone. Like I haven't touched any kind of drugs since 2000 and no drugs in East Texas since 2006, probably 2005.
Yeah,
I could make one phone call right now.
absolutely. Yeah. Go to
Like I
one
know,
house.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you just know. And isn't that crazy? Like 10 years, 15, 20, almost
Yep.
20 years. It is 20 years later now,
Because
almost for
it
me.
don't sleep, baby. It don't go nowhere. That
It
evil be
don't
out there
sleep. I can
forever.
make one phone call and have a
Yeah,
sack laying right here in front of me.
that's right. It don't sleep. And so what ended up happening is she cashed at me $500. I get in touch with an old friend of mine. I went and picked up, you know, a handful of 30 milligram Percocets. You know,
Casey.
and
If April and Shelby don't get a Slim Jim sponsorship after this, Slim Jim is failing.
I
Come
swear
on,
to they're
Casey.
missing out. They're missing out. You
Come
know.
on, Casey.
Yeah. And so shout out to YooHoo too. You know,
Yeah,
and
right. Yeah, for in Red Bull.
so I get back to the house, right, and I have these 30 milligram green monsters, is what we called them, right? So I took one, I didn't really feel anything. I took another one, and the next thing I remember, I am waking up in the back of an ambulance. My body is convulsing. I'm shaking so bad. I'm so cold because I had been dead for so long. My fingers were purple.
did it
Um,
have did it have fin in it or
it
was it
did. They were fentanyl, and that is what happened. what happened later, did I find out what happened is I was in my kitchen and my at the time 7-year-old daughter Eden came downstairs and found me dead in the kitchen floor. And she went and got my dad. He called. That's something that you know what I mean, they have to live with for the rest. I can't imagine. And so I that scared me a little bit, right? um
So I'm gonna interrupt you again.
mhm.
This is Kayla Brown. We could all make that one phone call, but for the grace of God, the thought of actually doing drugs makes me want to vomit. I was
For
out there
sure.
with her and her boyfriend at the time. And Kayla, like, if I'm putting too much out there, I'm so sorry. But you and I both know we recover out loud. Um, and her ex is the one I was thinking of whenever I said I could make one phone call right now and get
Yeah,
whatever the hell I needed.
yeah, yeah.
You know.
Yeah. My kid's dad,
And she's
I get
yeah,
it.
and like and she's doing so good now. Like, let me shout
Yeah.
her out real quick. Like, she's married to a wonderful dude. They do prison ministry and outreach. Like, they're part
Yes.
of a prison motorcycle or a Christian motorcycle club. Like,
Right.
she is doing so good. And
Shout
I'm
out.
Kayla, I'm so proud of you and I love you. So
Yeah. I'm proud of you too, sis.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. So let's see. But once, and I'll say this, it did scare me, but once if you're an addict and you know this to be true, once you've kicked in that phenomenon of craving, there is no stopping it. You
yeah,
become the drug again. So what
yeah,
happens is I come home from the hospital. I've been in ICU for a couple of days. I've got aspiration pneumonia. You know what that is, right? When you throw up and you choke on your own vomit, right?
right.
So I can't breathe. I've got bruises on my chest and my stomach from the paddles. Um, and I go straight upstairs to my bedroom where the rest of those 30 milligram burgers at.
Dude, my
Yeah,
guest last week was talking about the same stuff. Like,
yeah,
he called his dealer and he just told his dealer he wanted powder, right? The
yeah,
dealer's not thinking. He sells him fent. He snorts some fent and he starts feeling weird and he calls his dealer and his dealer's like, "Oh, bro, don't take that. I
yeah,
sold you the wrong shit." And he died and was in on freaking life support for, I don't remember, 3 or 4 days. Came out of it, and the first thing he wanted to do was go back home because he knew he had
yeah.
drugs at home.
Absolutely. I knew that I had them 30 milligram. When
Yep.
Kodak Black says, I know the perk was fake, but I still ate it. That was, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, whatever. And so, all right. So then I'll just kind of speed this up. So, like, that didn't stop the crystal meth. And once I started back doing drugs again, I didn't stop. I
Yeah.
did end up going to treatment again. I got sober for
Yeah.
a couple of months.
There's no off
Uh,
switch.
yeah,
Never.
and there wasn't. And then I went back to treatment again. A couple of times I did overdose 2 more times. Those times were going to be, intentional, because after that I was like, I'm not buying fentanyl unless I want to die. When I get kicked out of my dad's house and I wasn't allowed to see my kids, I would want to die. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's fast forward to this past year. So that's going to be 23. I had just gotten out of treatment in Florida, right? In May of last year. Compliments of our very own Jennifer Farley. Shout out Jen. She saved my
Man.
life one time,
So look at this. This is a, let me get rid of all these notifications because people have
Yeah.
been texting me during this whole thing, probably telling about how good this story is.
Yes.
So that's me and Jennifer that night at Rebos
Yeah.
after Josh sang "Give Heaven Some Hell." That
Yeah.
was a song that was played at Eric's funeral, and
Mhm.
I lost my shit. Right,
Yeah.
Ben wraps me up, gives me a hug. I walk off, get my head together, sit down on the steps. Jennifer comes up and wraps me up in a hug and
Yeah.
says, "Hey, bro, we've all been there. I love you. Let me tell you a story." And that was the first time I heard. And Kara took that picture and sent it to me later. And that's my lock screen because that was
Yeah.
just it was such a special moment for me.
So let me tell you a special story about Jennifer and but
Love
all
that
right.
girl, man. Love her.
So I meet Jennifer. You know what I mean? Like I'm selling dope, and she just so happens to be dating the dope boy, right? We meet each other because I walk in the dope boy's apartment. I have my hood on because I'm on my bullshit if my hood's up, right? and I have my headphones in and I'm singing gospel music, right? Because I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, somebody save me. I'm begging to be saved, you know?
Yeah.
And crazy story is I end up 3 weeks later detoxing. I fell into her apartment door and I'm coming off of Xanax like you've never seen. And she thought I was gonna die. I thought I was gonna die. And what happens is I didn't have any insurance. My family's not talking to me. My phone's not even on. She ends up making a couple phone calls and got me a full paid scholarship to clean recovery in South Florida.
Nice.
And yeah,
Was
it was,
just out of mild curiosity, was Marcus involved with that?
yeah, I mean, a little bit, but
A
not
little bit.
much. But yeah,
Okay.
shout out
Okay.
Marcus. I love Marcus
Yeah,
too.
I love Marcus too, man.
Yeah,
Love me some Marcus. Hey,
yeah,
he's coming up on like 18 or 22 years or
yeah.
something. Like
Big dog
big
status.
dog. Yeah,
Yeah,
man. He
yeah.
wanted to, he invited Kara and I to come to his birthday. We're gonna have to pass on it because we're coming for Christmas, the Christmas
Hmm.
in the Hood,
Yeah.
later that month.
Hmm.
But yeah, love me some Marcus.
Yeah, yeah. So I will say this, like it didn't and I'll say this, the mistake that I kept making is that I was never willing to do whatever it took. I was
Yeah,
never willing to just do whatever it took, right?
yeah,
Until I
yeah.
finally got enough suffering. One of the times I tried to get sober, that's when I met our Ashley Kennedy. I met, people like that who were instrumental.
You want to know my first run in with Ashley?
Yeah, let's talk about. I love me some Ashley.
I do too. Like, and she was super cool about it. She messaged me in and she commented on my post. Like, I went to Memphis in
Hmm.
July, took some pictures at the needle exchange, and I'm not thinking because I got clean in prison, right? Like, I've never been a part of a recovery community. I got locked up and spent 8.5 years in prison. That's how I got clean.
Hmm.
So I take pictures at the needle exchange, and Ashley comments on my post. The needle exchange is supposed to be anonymous, and then she messages Ben and is like, "Bro, what's up with your boy?"
Yeah, she's big on anonymity, right? You know
Yeah,
what I
and,
mean?
and
Like
like she was totally right, and I was totally wrong. I
for
didn't
sure.
get it, but like we're friends on Facebook. Like she didn't hold it against me, but Ben was like, he looked at me and he said, "Bro, can you go? Do you mind taking that post down?"
Right, right,
Yeah,
right, right.
I just didn't get it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's fine. Yeah, for sure. No, Ashley's great, and Ashley was instrumental in helping
Yeah,
me get sober this last time, right?
yeah,
So she was like one of the only ones I knew, and I'm back out there. I have flipped my car, almost lost my leg, and I'm back out in the streets. Just, I'm either gonna trudge it out to the bitter end,
yeah,
or I'm gonna do something different. What I kept
yeah.
doing every time when I tried to get sober was I kept going back to my dad's house. Shout out to my dad. I love my dad. It's not his fault, right? But what was there were the drugs that my mom was doing. And so every time
So
I would go back, she and I
unpack
would hook up.
unpack that just a little bit, if you don't mind. If you don't want to talk about it, that's cool
No,
too.
sure.
You can just tell me. Like, did your dad know your mom was doing all that shit?
So, hey baby, just a minute. So,
And like I
I mean,
said,
I'd
if
like to
this is
sit
a
here.
if
No,
this
it's
is if
fine.
this is a
Yeah.
if this is a suitcase you don't want to open, then that's
It's
perfectly
okay.
okay.
I'd like to sit here and say that he didn't know, but he did.
You
Was
can't
it
live with an
easier?
addict and not know something's going on.
Yeah. I mean, we're
You
all
just can't.
we're all overdosing in the kitchen, you know what I
Right,
mean? Like
right,
we know
right,
what's up.
right.
He knows I didn't have a job. How else was I paying for it? And anyway, so I keep going back, and me and her, we're so codependently toxic on each other. I mean, toxic with each other, like, and we just keep wrapping up at each other, and that's what happened that last time. And I took it to another level, which I always do, and like I said, I ended up flipping my car, ended up out in the streets, and man, I just had finally had enough suffering. That this particular time was the and I might cry talking about this, but this was the
It's
first
okay.
time. This is the first time that I've lost my kids. Like I had lost Christopher years ago, and I had just gotten them all back. We were all together, and then this happened, and I was not allowed to see them. I was not allowed to talk to them. I was not, you know, for good reason. It took
Yeah.
that. It took breaking my spirit to get me to see
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I went into Ashley, you know, she gets me into Alliance, the detox center. I detox there. I get into CAP. Um, and then I get into a sober living. Instead of going back to my dad's house, I ended up
Yeah.
going to sober living this time. While I was in sober living, and thank God for this, I had that gift. They talk about in the rooms, they talk about the gift of desperation. Um, and you know,
And for those
it
of you that are listening or watching and don't know, in the rooms, we're talking about like in AA and AHA
HA,
in
right?
recovery rooms,
That's right.
12
And
step recovery rooms.
that's right. Whoop, whoop. And so but it took that, you know, it took that being that willingness to do something different. And then and I was doing it on my own at first, you know what I mean? Like my family didn't talk to me. I went through Thanksgiving without my son and my kids. I went through Christmas, which you know, I didn't think I was gonna make it through that Christmas. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about crying, praying to God. You know, that was the hardest thing. Anyway, so but I stayed willing. I kept doing the things that were asked of me. I got a sponsor. I started working the steps. The most important thing though is that these people in these rooms, like when I couldn't do it, they did it for me. When I
Yeah.
couldn't get to the meetings, they picked me up. When I couldn't pay for my prescriptions, they bought them for me. When I couldn't buy groceries for myself, they bought me groceries, you know, and not to say that but people showed up for me.
Yeah.
People showed up for me and they showed up for me and they showed up for me.
And you
And
remember we were talking backstage beforehand, like whenever we've been talking to April about Memphis, and it was just the love,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's like that is exactly 100%. It is the love, the willingness to go above and beyond
For somebody,
for
yeah.
someone, no matter what it is.
Because
Oh,
like I said,
you need something. All of a
let me
sudden, there's 30 people right here wanting to help.
that's right. And then like I said, because we're all just really happy to be here and we're really
Yeah,
happy that you're here too. You know what I
right.
mean? Like
I
we know
love
what it
that.
took for us to get here. So if
Yes,
it took that for you, we're happy you made it, you know?
yes.
And so like I said, they showed up for me. I think it was, you know, maybe January, February. I got to start having visitation with my kids again. um I got to start seeing them again on the weekends, and then that's when I met Ben and Jessica. And I was able to move into their Sparrow house, which was the house for trafficking survivors, mothers,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and and
I didn't know you were at Sparrow.
yeah, yeah, I
I didn't
was,
know you
yeah,
were ever in one of their houses. I thought you were
that's
in a
right.
different. Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, and they were instrumental, and you know, all of a sudden, I got to keep them overnight on the weekends because I was in the women and children's house. I got to keep
Yeah,
them all week for spring break. You know what I mean? Like, and
and
then
I've
so
met her kids, y'all. Like they're phenomenal.
they
Like
are. There's
honestly, after hearing this, like I had no idea how crazy your story was.
yeah,
But for them to be as normal as they are,
yeah, like
you know what I'm saying? Like
yes, Dad,
they're not just
yes.
batshit crazy. You know what I
And
mean?
it's
Like
because
they're good kids, man.
yes, and we stayed wrapped up in each other, and
Yeah,
we still have that bond of survival together because
yeah.
we did it. You know, we survived.
You did the damn thing for
That's
sure.
right. And so, and then June of this year, you know, I got full custody of them back. They live with me full time. Yes, you know. Um,
Oh, I love it, man.
and today, you know, today we're not hungry. We don't want for anything. I live a life of abundance. I walk in abundance. I have absolutely everything that I need. What this, you know, and I'm not saying it's been easy the last year.
No,
I've
for
gone through
sure.
some things. I've gone through some things, but what this program has given me is a spiritual foundation that has been instrumental in every move that I
Yeah.
have made. It is obvious. It shows up in everything that I do. I am here. I am present. I am willing. And and we never have to suffer again. We never there like the
No.
motto for HA is no more suffering. And
Yeah.
I wear that because pain is inevitable, but
Come on.
suffering is optional.
Come on.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been clean now?
So I have, let's see, 406 days. I have
Nice.
yeah, 1 year and 1 month. So just pick that up. October 9th.
Nice. Heck
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Sis,
Yeah.
this has been so just, I met you in July, right? So I've only known you for 3 or 4 months, like not very long. I know the Shelby now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it never like even like when Jennifer was telling her story, and as I dig into the other people from Memphis, like I'm sure I'll hear more crazy stories like this. Um, and it's not that I don't look at you with pity. It's hard to reconcile this amazing, bubbly, full of life sister that I love with all my heart with all the craziness that went on before. You know what I
Right. For
mean?
sure. 100%.
Yeah, like it's hard, and I hate it. Like it just makes me want to just like wrap you up and just hold you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not out of sympathy, but
Yeah.
just out of like, oh
I
my
love you,
God, you
bro.
did
Right.
it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love you too. I'm just like, oh my God, this is my sister right here. Y'all look what she did.
That's
You know what I
right.
mean?
That's right.
Like it makes
That,
it's a proud kind of wanting to wrap you up. You know what I mean?
absolutely. And today, today I'm proud of myself. Today I'm
Hell yeah.
proud of myself and I love
Yes.
myself and I do things for
Yes.
myself and I show up for myself and they say it's a selfish program. Well, you know what? It is. I had to learn how to love myself first.
Yeah.
And now I take care of me and everything else just kind of falls into place.
Yeah. And I don't know, being on your phone, I don't know how well you can see the comments, but Jess said, I love this so much. It's been hard this week, and sometimes it just takes hearing stories like this to give me more fuel. I love you, Shelby Lee. You're a fucking warrior.
I love you, Jess. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, this has been good.
Yeah, I'm so glad
Thank
that you
you.
had me on here. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for just like being vulnerable and willing to just like open up and be raw and real. And these stories like this are why I keep doing this,
Yeah.
because this is real shit.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff people need to hear.
Yeah. Absolutely.
People people get stuck on seeing who you are now.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
what did it take for you to get here?
Man, what did it take?
You know
And
what I
like
mean?
a big part of my story is like the domestic violence. Like I'm big for domestic
Sure.
violence month.
Yeah.
If like I'm big on that. If you know somebody that if you're suffering, like please, you know what I mean? There's a way out, there's a way out. And
Yeah.
I'm here to be that light and that advocate for you.
Yeah. Tatiana Smith. That's Creesh's granddaughter or daughter, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that Creesh's daughter?
I don't know.
No?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I don't know. I think it is. I'm not 100% for sure. If I'm
Yeah,
wrong, Tatiana, just tell me. I'm sorry
that's
if I have it
great.
all mixed up.
Yeah. Yep. Glad to be here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, this has been awesome. Thank you again so much. And I cannot wait to see you this weekend. And
Yeah.
Ashley and Carissa, seriously, y'all, I want to meet you. So, like, we'll be in Memphis from Thursday through Sunday this week. Shoot me a message on Messenger, like, even if we just meet up for coffee or grab lunch or something or whatever. Yeah, Tammy's daughter. Tammy's daughter. Okay.
Yeah. There we
Thanks.
go.
Okay.
I'll hang
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
I knew she was with them somehow. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
I met her at the block party in
Everything. Right.
September. Yeah,
All
yeah.
the
That's when I met her.
events.
The first time I'd ever met her.
For sure.
Um, Somebody is outside of my house with some sort of like train horn. And I don't
Oh.
know who it is. Yeah, that's awesome. And I live like way out in the sticks, so I don't
All
know who
right.
it
There you
is.
go. Back in the woods, baby.
Yeah,
I
back in the
swear.
woods. Yeah, Chris, I'd love to meet y'all too. Like we've been connected for a while. I'd love to meet y'all. If we can make it happen, we need to make it happen, even if it's just for a few minutes. Um, Shelby, thank you again. Sis,
Yeah,
I love you like I do. Like
I
I
love
love
you
you with all my
too.
heart. You're my sis, and
Yeah.
nothing's ever going to change that.
This is Eden. This is the one that
Hi,
saved my
Eden.
life. Say
Hi.
hi. Hi. Glad she's here. You hear me,
Right?
Eden?
No kidding.
Right. Glad she's
Y'all,
here.
next week I have Simon Cross. I don't know if y'all are on Facebook, but he's all over Facebook posting recovery stuff. He's a little bit of a rock star in the recovery world. He advocates real big for recovery. And next week's the last episode of the month. I always take the month of December off. Um, so yeah, Simon Cross is it, and then we'll pick back up in January. And I don't know who my first guest is going to be because I hadn't started booking them yet. But I have a whole list of freaking rock
Yeah,
stars that I want to reach out to get on the show. So
for sure.
yeah,
Oh,
Shelby,
and shout out to my t-shirt, my fuck fit and all t-shirt. Sorry. Can pick that up. We fight monsters. You know, I love Ben and Jess. I'm always here
yeah,
to rep the t-shirt,
one
you know.
onceamerican.com. Like, look, y'all.
Right.
So I'm gonna always advocate and share Ben and Jess's stuff and the stuff they're
Yeah.
doing. They're doing a big Christmas bash in December. The Raven is here is going to be there for that. Um, and just so y'all know, like we put our money where our mouth is. Like we donate, we buy stuff, like we
Right.
support them too. Um, we're doing a big bash, and this is like we just decided this last night, and we're doing it December the 14th. We're going to go to the Hood, which we hadn't been to yet in Jacksonville. Um, we're going to smoke some pork butts, do some barbecue sandwiches, and Christmas gifts and all that kind of stuff. And
Sounds
this is
lit.
new for a yeah, it is like it's going to be
Yeah.
lit for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, but it's new ground for us because we hadn't done that yet. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
hadn't like just gone into that area of Jacksonville that's like South Memphis, but not quite as deadly.
Right.
Right. You guys,
Statistically, not quite
yeah,
as deadly.
yeah.
Yeah, I
See, I
get it.
mean, I
Right.
mean, our whole town is only like
Right.
13, 14,000 people. Like it's not a huge town, but it's
Right.
still the area of town where all the drug trafficking takes place and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, and we've kind of refocused. We've been doing a lot of homeless stuff, but we've kind of shifted because we know our focus is going to be on drug and human trafficking. So we're just
Right.
going to bust up in there like we own the place,
As you
show them
do.
some love. Yeah, we
That's
do.
right.
God's going in front of us.
Yeah.
Ben, you already know, like y'all and you and Jess are like going to be a once or twice a year kind of guests. Like y'all are going to come on for sure. Um, yeah, I could keep rambling about it, but thank y'all. Thank you so
Hey,
much,
hey
Shelby.
Ben. Love you.
Yeah, I know it, Kate. Like we've already got the Airbnb booked. Whatever day it is, Jess or Casey, 12/21 or 12/23. Like we've already got the Airbnb book, so it's paid for. Like there's no,
Yeah.
it's a non-refundable
Non-refundable. Yeah.
Airbnb. Yeah, so we're coming. Whatever
That's
it is,
right.
we're coming.
That's right. I'll see you guys here. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
100%. 100%.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining us. I say it all the time. I couldn't do it without y'all. Y'all show up and y'all support every single week. Um, and it's humbling and just it keeps me going. So thank y'all so much. And Shelby, I'll see you in a few days.
I'll see you soon, Chris. Love you, brother.
All right. Love you too. We'll see you. Yeah, we'll see you in a few days. It's a few
All right.
days. Oh my
It's just a
God.
few days.
Bye, Eden.
Say good night. Bye, y'all.
Bye. I clicked the wrong button. Y'all give me just a second. Here we go. Bye.